know what people are thinking. The Pro Quest is damn near over, and you're talking about prepping for it? Why so late? Well, as my teachers, you always found out better late than never, right? But for real, when I was getting ready for the Pro Quest, I realized that I did everything kind of backwards, and there has to be a better way for me to prep, especially for these larger tournaments. So I figured, why not make a show of it? Maybe this will help anyone prepping for a tournament or even their local armies. And so we do like to pride ourselves on mostly having evergreen content. And we're diving deep into how we prepped, built, and fine tuned our decks and how anyone could approach tournament prep like a pro. And I'm speaking, of course, from our guest perspective because I'm no pro yet, right? But first, I'm Will. And tonight, Jeremy is rejoining the cast tonight to catch the slack from the other Tunic Counter Gamers as they are off doing something called work and to pay something called bills, right? I know, right? Shameful. I mean, Jeremy, aren't you working? And you made the cast, so what's going on with them?
I don't know. I think they need to step it up. That's what.
Yeah, there you go. So, Jeremy, as always, in the beginning part of the show, we always like to kick it off with what we learned since last week. And so, as you guys can realize, Jeremy will be going in and out. We got him frozen right here with a nice smile on his face. And when he gets back, he's going to kick it off and say what he learned since last week. Jeremy, whenever you're ready. And that's a
Mike,
good
can
thing
you hear
about,
me?
yeah, I can. And that's a good thing about post edits because I can cut all that out. But I'm going to keep the frozen part in because I got you grinning really big. I love that. So, as like I was saying, as always, Jeremy, we like to kick it off with what we learned since last week. So, what did you learn since last week?
I think what I learned since last week is I don't know what we're catering the LL format towards, and it's kind of an anomaly to me. I mean, here's the thing. I'm actually pretty positive about this game most of the
Hmm.
time. I think I like LL. I'm not hating on it, but I'm also questioning what it's for, right?
Hmm.
Because we have this I think what we're trying to sell it towards is like catering towards nostalgia, these
Sure.
heroes that people want to play again. And that's fine and all, right? But there's also a lot of people who have never experienced these heroes, and a lot of people who wouldn't exactly say playing against these heroes is a positive play experience either, right? Like
Yeah.
Starvo and Chain just have such egregiously powerful text boxes that it's just hard to balance.
Hmm.
And then because they want to balance the format and make it playable and nice, well then there's a ban every very
Right.
often, and then you get burned for investing in a deck and then having it banned out from under you. So
Yeah. I know there was a lot of people that wanted to change. Like we go through Level Up, and Level Up is a very great gaming store. They love to support their players. We're not by any means endorsed by Level Up, but they put the vote to the players. Which of our events or ProQuest do you want to go towards CC or do you want to do like both CC? And so I think the majority of people voted for CC first and then LL, but me, I was like, I don't know, man. LL's a little bit not my thing. Just like you were saying, I don't know these heroes. It's hard enough for me to learn the 30 plus heroes we already have and all their ins and outs. And you want to throw in some of these busted, broken heroes like Starvo or Chain. I was like, man, yeah. So, and that's kind of why I'm understanding with the prep format too, because there are some powerful turns in that format. So I get what LSS was doing with like, hey, it's nostalgic. Your heroes retire and they want to keep on supporting that. I think that was a whole pillar. LSS's marketing plan is like, oh, you got the competitive format and then you got this post-competitive format where your heroes can still be played. So yeah, so you're learning that LL is not for you, or you still like it, or are you just not liking the ambiguity where it's at right now?
I actually think it's fine. I'm not saying
Mm,
it has no place, but the fact that we're putting it at Worlds
mm,
without enough data and testing on the format is what makes me feel like I don't know why we're doing it the way. Like the number of bans leading
mm.
up to the World CC. I mean, a lot of competitive players have a lot stronger words for the scheduling
Yeah.
than me,
Yeah, at least
but
they didn't do it what was the original date? 11:05 or something like that. It was like supposed to be next week, right? Next Monday?
yeah, it was supposed to be later. So
Yeah. So, yeah, I know they just I was trying to think about bringing Chain because I figured it's close enough to Vincent, which was one of my old heroes, except, bigger, more explosive turns and not limited
except
by
for a lot better.
except a lot better. So I figured if I played the Pinto, I could play the Cadillac and be just fine, right? Yeah, so But they banned a couple of cards I was really looking forward to, and you need those aura cards to destroy your own aura because I'm thinking that's how you handle the chain mechanic sometimes if you need to decrease the power level or to increase the
It's more
power to
so
keep on
that
extending.
it's more so that Deadwood Dirge hitting Chain Soul Shackle is just disgusting value.
Yep,
It was just too good.
yep. Which is why
So
they used it, right? So, but
mhm.
hey, I think if you build your deck to be fine-tuned and get done in 3 or 4 turns, which LL should be done anyways for most of these heroes, I think you'll be fine. Um,
Yeah.
it's tough though. So how have you been practicing for LL? Have you been doing it on Talishar, or have you been getting in-person games?
Generally on Tashar, like a lot of the Georgia guys tend to get together and test. So that's
Mm,
that's what's been going on. But of course, like the Runeblade lovers just got hit with the most recent ban, and now right,
yeah,
like a lot of the not that the testing goes out the window, but a lot of it is a little bit behind because of that.
yeah.
So
I know Justin. He's probably still on Starvo, right? He's kind of like a Starvo main, so he's probably eating pretty right now.
yeah, he likes Starvo, but that's what
Yeah.
I mean is like there are Starvo enjoyers, but like he I still don't think he's like the most fascinating hero to play
Mm-mm.
against. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think LL can be included at future events. It just needs a lot more time and
Yeah.
like here the counter example is Silver Age, right? Like
Mm.
that fills a very obvious need, right? Of a lower barrier to entry, right? To a trading card game, and
Mhm.
that's very important. Whereas I don't know what role LL is fulfilling.
Yeah, I think it's more like that when they first came out, that marketing niche, like, hey, your heroes always have a place here in living legends, and it
Hmm.
sounds good, it sounds
Hmm.
poetic, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
It sounds great. It's just that like not all the heroes that also exist in this format because Starvo and Chain are just so powerful. Well, your
yeah,
Enigma and Aurora lovers, right?
yeah,
It's
or
not very
Dromai
true for the
lovers.
Dromas. Yeah, that's true. She's like B C tier.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting. So learning a little bit more about that and how the band shook up things and more data coming out. Okay. Yeah.
Hmm.
So what did I learn since last week? I went and played Armory on Sunday. I had to skip Tuesday because my wife was out of town for 5 days. She came back on Tuesday night instead of Monday. So I figured I'd do the responsible thing and hang out with her. Happy wife is happy life, and all the perks that come along with being married with that. So I figured I'd take one for the team and stay home so you guys can see me at follow-up armories.
But you
Didn't
you left podcast night open.
I did. She's asleep right now. She always goes to sleep around 9, which is why we always record around 9:30, right? So
Oh,
yeah.
hidden lore you only get when I come on the episodes, guys.
100%, right? Well, that's because you ask the hard-hitting questions, like why is it so late? Well, that's because she really runs my schedule. It's not me. But yeah, yeah. So last week you had to put our cat down, right? It's unfortunate it got sick and it was old. So Sunday I really wanted to build decks. Didn't really feel like messing with my cards. I had all the sample opportunity, so I just brought KO out, which is funny because that's the top 8 PQ deck I played with recently. We'll go over a little bit of that today. So still fair. It's KO does KO things, and of course my matchups against Gravy Bones is still so hard to win. But not saying it's unwinnable. It's like a puzzle piece. So I'm still trying to figure out that puzzle, which I'll talk about when I go into my sideboard a little bit. And that's what this show is going to be dedicated about. Of course, timestamps down below. So and that's something we've been doing. That being said, do you want to cover really quick what the ProQuest actually is, Jeremy?
Yeah, it is basically your qualifying ticket to the Pro Tour. So at a local level, usually at your local game store, uh, your game store will throw on mini tournament, right? And the way it works is if you win that mini tournament, you get qualified for the Pro Tour, right? The
Mm.
big famous shiny spangly tournament that everyone wants to compete in.
And so I know they have tiers of events, and Armory's like your basic tier, or your Armory's just your Armory, and then I think your ProQuest is like a tier 4 event,
No,
something
you,
like.
you have it
Oh,
backwards. Well, the Pro Tour is tier 4, and the qualifier for it is it tier 1 or tier 2?
I got you.
Uh, yeah,
So
I don't know. It's one of the lower tiers, but it qualifies you to the highest tier
I
of
got you.
event. So the graphics is floating out there somewhere.
Yeah, look it up on the site, guys. So I will say though, that's one of the ways is you earn your PTI, your Pro Tour invite to this, and it's a floating invite you carried over from season to season. Is that correct, or is that incorrect?
You're thinking of it different. So the ProQuest
Mm-hmm.
event at your game store qualifies you for the next Pro Tour. So as an example, this current ProQuest season is called ProQuest Yokohama, and it will only qualify you for Pro Tour Yokohama. The
Gotcha.
PTI is a different system where certain events award PTIs. For example, if you win a Battle Hardened, you'll get a PTI that you can redeem at any qualifying event, and that doesn't expire. So, for example, if you want a Battle Hardened today, you could spend it on Pro Tour Yokohama, but you could also spend it on the World Championships or your national championships,
Oh,
so on and
okay.
so forth.
Thankfully, I got Jeremy here to explain all that because I don't think I quite understood it too. So that's great. I know I play for the swag. I always played for the promo cards, the bright shiny cardboard. That's why I really like. This one had a really good one, which swing big. So I'm all about
Yeah,
that, getting that swing big card. Yeah. So Jeremy, would you advise anyone that's not sure about playing in the Pro Quest, like the foundational, mid like tournament? Would you advise them to just play anyways, or
I
is it
I
kind of
100
good?
I 100% recommend it. I
Okay.
think I I love competitive play, but even then, right? You're just playing the game. It's fun. Like, and having a little bit taste, that small step, right? That competitive taste you get from the local qualifier events might get you into the bigger and better tournaments, and those are fun as well, right? Like some of the most fun I have is traveling to the bigger events,
Mm,
right, with friends, and that all starts at the local level too.
yeah.
So
I
you don't need to win. You don't need to have an expectation of winning to make it worth your time to go to one of these.
Yeah. I always say progress, not perfection. That's the thing I always quote at work. And one of those things is, people don't understand that when you actually join these tournaments, there's a certain level at the higher tables. I'm not sure if you realized, Jeremy, but before I played these fun card games, I used to be a poker player and I used to do really good. Think out of the tournament of 600 people, I placed first and won a lot of money. Had my room upgrades in Vegas and all this stuff. That's when I was a lot younger and single at the time too, because it takes a lot of time to be competitive. But as you escalate these tables and become to these higher tier tournaments, there is a mental shift that goes on where that pressure sometimes gets to you and you start making misplays or you just feeling like, like a little bit of imposter syndrome. Has that ever happened to you where it's like, or did you get your prep done at the lower local levels, getting ready for the bigger ones? So that never really did occur.
I will say for me is I'm very solid individual. So I have or rather, I have my reasons for playing down, so it never
Uh,
really bothers me at the highest level. But I completely understand what you mean, right?
okay. Yeah.
This is a very real problem that happens, especially when you get to high stakes, right? Like you're
Yeah.
playing for, especially at the highest stakes, you're playing for a lot of money.
Well, and that's kind of where I'm going.
Yes.
Like, if there's a mental and strategic mindset, and there's a difference between like your local armies and actually trying to win something bigger. Like, like I hate to mention the Atlanta Falcons. That's where we're from, guys. And man, I call them the choke artists of the freaking world because we still all remember that Super Bowl years ago. What it was 28-3, and they lost it, right? And so there is a mental and strategic difference between playing the army where it's a lot more relaxed. You're playing out your deck, running your lines, um, and then you start playing for the gold foil or the invite, and you really want to win, and then you start choking a little bit or quickstanding. It's like one of those things. So that never affected you, huh? Like you never, but you understand where people did kind of get affected by that.
Yeah, it's a lot of the language of the competitive players.
Huh, interesting. Okay. And do you ever set a goal when you like start joining these tournaments? Like, say, we know we had ProQuest. Did you go out to try to win it, or did you just go out to have fun, go out to refine your deck to get experience with the deck you played? What was your goal in that? Did you even set a goal, or were you just like, yeah, it's a normal day for me?
Okay, here's something interesting
Okay.
about mindset. I think setting the goal is good.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong. You should say I want to maybe win X amount of games, or I want to top eight, or I want to win the gold foil. But
Hmm.
here's the thing, right? Everybody entering the ProQuest has the same goal,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They want to win, right? So what's actually separating people apart is your system,
Okay.
right? So if you have your goal of winning in mind, but you have your system of what do you like to say a lot, right? What do you like to say a lot, Will?
Progress, not perfection. Oh,
Exactly, right. If you go into that with the progress mindset, right, that's what actually ends up pushing you the farthest.
okay, excellent. So you're all going in there not to get your teeth kicked, but to actually take down the tournament, or to go in there and get more experience for another tournament you might be prepping for, right? Okay,
It's always practice for the next one,
yeah,
right? And if you
that's
if you walk away from the game, right, identifying something you can learn, getting better, then that is what will gradually push you towards winning in general,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's not the I set the goal to win and I hit it, that gets you there. It's
Mhm.
it's that progress mindset that you keep mentioning that actually gets you there.
Cool. So I got to ask you, yeah, now, spoiler alert for those that don't know, but Acilio was Jeremy's deck of choice, and he took down our local ProQuest. So he took down the whole thing. Now I got knocked out in the when do you get knocked out? Top eight? Yeah, I got knocked out in the top eight.
Quarterfinals
Yeah,
for
the
for people who want
quarterfinals,
to sound fancy.
the quarterfinals. So why did you pick your deck? And this is the part that I don't think other casters or places really cover. But like, was there a reason why you picked Astilio? Like compared to like we knew what the top meta was. It's very transparent. Most likely you'll fight Syndras, Gravy Bones, and Verdances. And if you happen to miss them, you just got lucky, and that's called a gem dodge, right? Or gem luck or whatever. So like,
Mhm.
but Astilio has a certain level of variance, right? So why is Celio out of all the heroes you could have played? Because you're well versed in a lot of different hero types, right? You're a generalist, not a specialist, although you prefer your board state heroes.
Yeah. So I picked Acilio because I like Acilio. Will.
It's just all right, guys. That's the cast today. Play the hero you like, and you might win something. That's so good. All right. So,
But yeah, but we can break it down a little bit. So yes, at its core, I played Acilio because I really like Acilio. Like
okay.
it
So,
is that simple sometimes. But
so it's the
if
play
I'm thinking about
style, or go ahead. Right?
but as comedic as that answer is supposed to be, it
Yeah.
is also a commentary on play what you're comfortable
Hmm.
with, right? If you feel very comfortable on a hero and you have a lot of reps, right? I feel like Flesh and Blood is a game that actually rewards familiarity, right? Like at the top level, yes, you should play the best deck. You should play
Hmm.
the best meta deck, but right, not everybody has that kind of time, right? Right. Will has a wife, so
Well, you almost have a wife. You got a partner, right? So
that is
the
that is
ring's
true.
not there
She
yet,
also
but
she also takes up a lot of my time. That's true. Yes, but
so
if you're investing your time into a hero, right, and enjoying and dedicating right reps to them, why
mhm.
not bring them the ProQuest, right? Because that knowledge that you have will oftentimes serve you better than bringing the best meta deck, unless you're like the top 1% player, right?
Mm.
Then yeah, if you're already the top of the top, then yes, bring the best meta hero. But then you also wouldn't be listening to me telling you how to win a ProQuest, right?
Yeah, it's
So
also good to know, like, so I kind of broke this down into like it's either a meta call, like you're saying, if you're the best of the best players, you need that edge. Those small edges will win you the game when it comes down to like a coin flip. It could be a comfort pick or the certain play style. I know you like Estilio because he does a lot of degenerate things, and he's quite flashy in doing them. And there's a lot of different lines that you have to execute to perform at the highest level possible. And then obviously it's testing data. Like, yeah, you can use stats from Fabrary or Fablazing to see what the most played hero is and heroes to counteract it. But I love your answer to play what you're familiar with because that's what's going to get in most of the games. And that's going to be exactly why you would win some of these matchups that are kind of close. So I'm not sure if you realize this. I wasn't sure I was going to land on KO. I was playing Florian for so long, and I haven't played KO since the heavy hitters meta because I was just trying different heroes and their playstyles. So when I picked KO, it really was because I for the life of me, didn't want to play Florian into like a couple of the heroes that were out there. I just didn't feel comfortable in my game plan or my deck at that time. And then Vincent, I felt like wasn't quite ready again for the same reasons. So I went back to my old love. I was originally Reinar, and after testing with Ning, I high rolled the hell out of him where the game was over in 4 turns and I got 17 points of damage on the average. And I was like, oh, this deck's awesome. And then I took it to Armory and I was like, let me roll some scab skins and play around. And, lost every roll, 0-3. I was like, okay. So I went to the more steady the brute heroes, which is KO, armed and dangerous. And RKO, I was playing it, testing it, but that that deck has such wildly different play lines that I was like, I'm not very comfortable with this deck yet, not having 1 week of testing. Where KO is kind of like a familiar comfort, you know.
Hmm.
Um, and I thought with Brute variants, the reason why I liked Brute when I first picked up Flesh and Blood is because I like the idea of, against a skilled player, sometimes luck will win, right? And Brute, sometimes that variance will land on your side or it'll cost you games, right? So how do you track your testing results, Jeremy? Like with your Astilio, or do you just keep on getting reps and kind of get that general feeling of what's good and how to play against certain heroes, or do you actually write notes and take track your data?
Okay, I wouldn't say I'm spreadsheeting. Right,
Uh
that just feels like work, and
huh.
playing this game should not feel like. If you love spreadsheeting, I'm not saying
Yeah,
no, right?
Justin loves
But
spreadsheeting. He was on our cast
yeah,
last week talking about Pleiades, but yeah.
yeah. So if that's what you like, yeah, go for it. As for me, it's more so that I want to play meaningful games and draw lessons from them,
Okay.
right? So Talishar playing is great, right? But there's a limit, right? You don't want to play too many of that, or it's just mindlessly pressing buttons. So if you actually want to get testing in, call up someone that's good on a meta deck, right? There's enough players in the Georgia area, for example, that I can be like, hey, I want to play X and such matchup. I should call this person, and we'll play some games. And here's the thing, right? The reason why I don't recommend too much random Talishar playing is because you cannot communicate with your opponent,
Yeah.
right? If I'm playing with somebody, I can talk to them and be like, hey, what did you think about X, Y, and Z play? Or someone can watch me play, right? And be like, why did you do X, Y, and Z?
Yep.
And then
So
after the game, yeah. Like you just basically, if you're having a meaningful discussion about the game while you're playing it or after you're playing it, then that's, in my mind, that's good testing.
yeah. I gotta say, Talishar, I kind of treat it where it's like it's like playing poker without no stakes, right? You just play the
Mhm.
stupidest, craziest play lines, and that's what Talishar is. So that's why I say with Talishar's data, you gotta take it with a grain of salt because a lot of those win percentages are slightly off because a lot of people will they're quick to quit or they make some reckless plays, right? Now, what you're saying, being dedicated, testing, getting a partner in that actually knows the deck, and playing like the optimum plays does benefit you. But I know, and people watching you, I know in our Discord in the Georgia Fab channel, days before the ProQuest, I hopped on and I was playing KO against Syndra, KO against Gravy Bones. It was Jose and Paul's decks. And so I had Tommy yelling in one ear, Andrew Lawrence yelling in the other. Right? And there's a point where I told Jose, if Tommy got on, this is what I'm going to do just to mess with him. And I made the craziest play lines. And he was like having this like convulsion as you see me mess up this deck. I was like, okay, I'm gonna reset and we'll play seriously. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's like it feels less impactful sometimes. So like you're saying, it's
Mhm.
pressing buttons in some ways
But yeah,
versus if
but like that's what I mean is that's a great example
yeah
of testing that was meaningful because like I was there too, right? I just didn't say anything, right?
yeah
But like I just watched Will like, oh shit, there's a oh sorry, am I allowed to curse?
yeah.
Right.
It's 30 minutes in almost. You're fine.
But he's like, ah shit, there's a tear limb from limb. Let's play it.
Oh
And
God,
at
that
the
play. Oh God. I'm sorry. Go ahead,
and
Jeremy.
like Tommy and Andrew both be like, "What are you doing?" Right? And that's a great example of you know somebody was watching you play and critiquing your play,
Yeah
and you learn from it. That's
yeah
great. That's what I mean. And maybe the lesson was don't mindlessly cast tear limb from limb, but it it was a lesson, right?
Yeah,
You learned
yeah.
something from it.
And I think I whiffed the turtle limb from limb and actually lost the game. And where I had Jose almost
Yes,
dead rights.
yes, you whiffed it and lost on the spot when you had a perfectly reasonable play that would have put you like far, far ahead. So
But to go to your point, like because of that, when in the Pro Quest, I had Terror Limb from Limbs I could have cast from hand to get that overpowered attack, or I had the safer playline. And Andrew Words, he was like, dude, you love doing the flashy plays, but it's not the right plays, right? I was like, oh, it hurts so
mhm,
good, right? But yeah, so that's a great thing.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah. So do the flashy plays of your army. Okay, that's what the
yeah,
army is for. That's where you get to have fun, right? If you're trying to win a pro quest, I mean, the best way to improve at this game, honestly, is to have Andrew Lorenz like yell at you. But I can't give that as advice since not everybody has Andrew Lorenz near them. So
right. But man, there is some saying about seeing experienced players and their reactions to certain lines you take. Like, dude, like, and so think about like the top players and like how would they progress with that line if you had a choice? Is it the flashy play or is it the safe play? Because a lot of the higher ranked players that are in the top tables, they go for the numbers play, the safe long play. So they're in the game a little bit longer and not risking everything on the big or the top brute attack. But we learn, right? Do you adjust your deck, let's say day before, day of, if you know that there's a couple meta shifts happening? I know we do for the bands coming out, but normally it doesn't happen when major tournaments are coming. But let's say, do you ever plan for like the random Kanos coming up, or you know how now the Pro Quest, the way they're scheduled is if you win, you can't enter another Pro Quest. So do you look at the spreadsheets and say, oh well, like there's 30 gravy bones the first week, and then 20 gravy bones the second week, or and then so I could plan on less gravy bones the third week. Do you ever make those meta shifts?
I will say I think meta considerations are great,
Mm,
right? And this applies to both deck choice and deck options, right?
mm,
Within the deck. So I still think the level 0 is play a hero you enjoy that you love, right? That's fine. But
mm,
let's say you're approaching this from a perspective of I have a lot of decks in my arsenal. I'm undecided. What should I do? Yes, you should absolutely think about the meta, right?
mm.
I, I don't have the kind of foresight to be like, oh, I think this deck was this percentage this week and it'll be that percentage next week. But you can it can just be as simple as I know there are a lot of strong players in my area on Gravy Bones. I'm going to bring a deck that's pretty good into Gravy,
Yep.
right? Or you could just look at the meta representation and say, this deck is showing up and winning a lot. I can expect that deck to show up and win a lot. I need to not you don't need to bring a deck for it. You can just have a game plan for that deck,
Hmm.
and that also counts as a meta consideration.
I think that's a
So
good point. And when we cover our decks a little bit, and we don't, it's not a full deck review. I will have the links down below. And I know Jeremy, he's told me before the cast, I was like, do you mind if I share it? He's like, dude, I don't care. I'm not one to keep things secret. So we'll cover we'll cover that, and you can tell me if like what cards included, a little bit of your meta considerations and kind of different game plans you took into our meta heroes currently. And again, this is the Super Slam meta going into the Philadelphia World Tournament. I was going to call it World Quest, but that's not right. So I think they're just called Worlds, right? So and then we could just talk loosely on your deck, and I'll cover a little bit of mine because I know I was kind of pinning cards in. And you could also talk about flex spots, like cards you would consider taking out if the meta shifts. I know I always ask Jeremy for his deck, like, hey, what's your new Celia list? Because one day I'm going to build it, right? Because I got to learn Wizards. I got to learn about the priority window. And so, I always ask him for his list. So, do you want to just jump right into that and start covering your deck?
yeah, sure, let's hop in.
All right. So I love your name. It's Justin. Don't look. Do you want to explain that before we go into the rest of this?
Yes. So for U.S. Nationals this year, I think Acilio was a horrible, horrible meta pick because Azalea still existed and Nu still existed. So both disruptive decks that were very strong against Acilio. And I said, I don't care. I'm playing Acilio because I love him.
Goes back to what you were saying earlier. A man of his own rules and following. I love it.
Yeah, I follow my own rules. But
Yeah.
I named the deck Justin Don't Look because Justin also loves Acilio, but also is a lot more cognizant of like meta choice
Mm.
and trying to, pick the right deck for the tournament. So Acilio was not the right pick for that tournament, but I played it anyways, and I said, Justin, don't look because you'll be tempted by my bad meta choice.
That's so funny. All right. And just to give people consideration of our different mindsets, my deck's name is KO Final. That's it.
You
That's all it's
gotta
called.
you gotta be more creative than that,
I know,
man.
dude. I wasn't really thinking about it. I was like, because I have version 1, version 2, version 3, and then I was like version final, right? And I was like, so maybe once it's final, I'll rename it and call it that. So,
Oh, it'll never be final. You need to learn from your co-host Evan. Evan has the best deck names.
oh yeah, that's maybe I'll talk to him about the naming conventions of his deck. Because you're right. You know what? That's the difference between me losing in the top 8 and you winning the whole damn thing. It was because you named your damn deck. Like we know that
Yeah,
Pokemon that you name are stronger than Pokemon that you don't name. All right.
because they don't die or something.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about Acilio Constella Intelligence. Now, again, this is not a deck review, but we're just going over like general ProQuest advice, ProQuest tips. So with this deck, you chose it because you like the hero. It has a lot of good flashy plays, no pun intended. What was the flex spots and what like I see you kind of build up where you have 51 in the core and then you kind
Mhm.
of flex in the 24 in the inventory?
Yeah. So
Okay.
part of the prep is understanding what your game plan is into each matchup
Mm-hmm.
and crafting your sideboard around that. Or at least not even crafting your sideboard, but if
Oh.
you if you're taking a list from someone, you have your ideas in mind. So using Acilio as an example here, the 51 cards in the core, these cards are almost always in. I can think of very rare situations where one of these cards actually comes out, and that's good. I have a solid main base. Now to the sideboard, let's see, what's the easiest way to break this down? Okay, so I have a very default aggressive configuration. If I know that I'm just going to race my opponent down, they don't have that much disruption against me. I have a very set package, right? And that's the Null Shock, Sigil Aether, Fry, Lightning Press. That's done. Now, we don't actually have to break down all the cards. My point is just that I know what I'm going to bring in for that configuration.
Mm-hmm. And
Same
so
goes for reactions,
if you need
right?
to go ham, you'll bring in extra cards to make sure that you get the aggression going earlier, and you just add in these cards because it fits in right into your 51 spot, right? So kind of three sets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Null Shock, yeah, 3 3 2 2 2, right?
Yep.
That's I can do math, right?
And then you'd have two more cards to kind of like flex in somewhere, which would probably be your eclectic magnetism or your fry, right? Something like that to kind of
Mm-hmm.
fix it out. All right.
Mm-hmm. You're right. And like I said, I'm not getting into the details, but the point is I know what my game plan is and what cards facilitate that. And then if we switch directions a little bit, let's say I need to block, right? There's a deck that has on hits that I need to block. Boom. There is my defense reaction,
Mm-hmm.
right? There are some slower, very defensive decks that I need to get over the top. Boom. That's what the Bird Bear is for, right? 6 arcane damage, big
Yep.
number. We like.
All
Also
right.
works against Prism. We like.
Yep. And
Right.
generally speaking,
So
Prism was a bad matchup for Wizards in general, and then Burn Bear kind of leveled it out a little bit. Yeah, that's because she had the ward abilities,
yeah,
right?
it's more so that her angels are big, and if you get to pop them with one card,
Mm,
uh, that burn that burn bear lets you do that, so it evens out the math.
okay.
But I have I have a game plan for, and these are broad categories, but I have a broad game plan for basically every hero in the game
Yeah.
from here. And then let's talk about meta, right? Like I know, for example, in the Georgia area, there are a lot of good Syndra players. I expect to play against. There are good Syndra players, and I also expect Syndra to be a top meta deck. So, for example, I will bring in Calming Breeze for Syndra because I think that's pretty good against Flick Knives.
Hmm.
And I also have a Cap of Quick Thinking in the sideboard that swaps out from my normal equipment for Syndra as well. So that's an example of a meta consideration.
Right.
And it will stay because Syndra is a top meta force, but that's an example of how I quote unquote adjusted for that.
Yeah. So let me ask you a few questions. I get that. Why Shark Charmers and Spring Tunic over your Old Knocker and I forget Shark Charmers is what arms? Yeah, and they're bindings of the third age. So
Right.
what like you brought them in for a reason, but these are in your main inventory list, right? So what
hmm
when would are you expecting to play the finals Tunic when you know it's going to go a long game, maybe against Guardians, mid range decks, that type of thing?
Precisely. Right.
Okay.
Here's another example. I know there are some fatigue lovers
Oh Jesus, dude. Yo, yeah.
in in Georgia, so Tunic is a great option when your opponent's like, "Here's a Guardian deck with 66 cards, and I'm going to block everything you do." I'm like, "Okay, great. I love Phantom Spring Tunic."
Yeah.
Same idea with Shock Charmers. If I'm playing a mirror or
Mm,
I'm playing against Kano, right, a wizard, then the Spell Void 2 is really good. I don't
yeah.
actually know what the rest of the text on Shock Charmers is. I can't read, but Spell Void 2 is great against opposing wizards.
I'm sure that came in against you actually played Andrew Lawrence in the top eight, and I heard that game was really close. So
It
you
very much
expected
was.
a mirror or a wizard opponent, and so you put the Shock Charmers in, and they're just going to even out the playing field.
hmm
Okay.
Yes, yes, sir. Yeah, and part of it is I simply have the deck space, right? So it's pretty easy to slot these cards in. But let's say you're playing a deck that's harder on sideboard slots, right? Then that's where my discussion on meta consideration is a lot more relevant if
Hmm.
it's like a struggle to put in the shock charmers,
Yeah.
right? If you're not going to play against opposing wizards, yeah, swap shock charmers out for something else
Yeah.
needed if you needed the space.
Yeah. I love that. All right. And yeah, I mean, again, I fought this deck, I think, both at Armories and at the ProQuest, and you you beat me several times with it. It's a very hard deck to. I mean, now mind you, I don't know if you high roll me or if it's just your master plan with the Steeler because it could be like I'm playing checkers and you're playing 4D chess. I mean, I just don't know. So, but I know I do like this deck and I'm going to hopefully start playing it soon. But the Rhino Armory deck's coming out, so that's going to be
Mhm.
go ahead and eat up my time.
Yeah,
All right,
I
love
will
it.
say myself for Acilio is that simply I think he's the highest skill ceiling deck in the game. I think he's actually I think he's a pretty easy hero to pick up and play if you just want to
Hmm.
have fun. But if you're constantly looking to see how you can improve, there are so many micro decisions because of his hero power that it really levels up your game plan the more really levels up your game the more you play him.
Okay,
So
love that. All right, I guess we'll talk about mine and we'll go briefly over it. So I'll give again, I will shout this out to the Runaways cast. The one consideration I took was when I was listening to his KO breakdown. I cannot remember the dude's name. I apologize if I know they all listen to us, but he played beaten trackers, right? And he did not use calfskin leathers. And I'm not sure if you know this about me, Jeremy, but I'm a degenerate gambler. I love gambling. I'll gamble on everything. I actually got kicked out of church one time for gambling on a Beyblade match between two kids, right? So it's a whole thing. I love the thrill. I love the rush. I love picking up dice and rolling something random. But the thing is, like, and poker's not gambling, right? It's percentages, which is if you look at the brute playstyle, it's all about hedging against your percentages, right? And
Mhm.
so the Runaways cast said, you know what? Being Trackers does everything that Scabskins you want, other than you losing the Battle Worn 2, right? For me, it did one more most important thing. I didn't have my hands itched to roll the dice. It wasn't even a consideration. I
You
have it in
can't
here.
press the button if it's not there.
Exactly. It's 100% what's happening. This is your basic breakdown of brute equipment. But for those that anytime draw and discard, so this would be great on anything except for beat chest Rhinar, which beating trackers is actually a consideration because yeah, you lose 1 point of value on the scabskin leathers and the potential upside of randomly rolling dice, but you're also not rolling a one two times in a row and losing the game on the spot. So beating trackers does a great thing, a place to your game plan. I also like Tyrannical Rex. A lot of people are still on the Apex Bonebreaker, but I think especially for KO, you're pitching a lot of cards that have six value, and over the course of the game, you're going to get more value at your Tyrannical Rex than blocking getting the Might token on from that. So That's my consideration. Your basic AB package here. Now, one thing I would say, Crown of Providence came in for my Gravy Bones matchup. Right? When he does Conqueror of the High Seas, I'm blocking a Crown, losing the Arsenal, and drawing 5 cards in my hand. Hopefully it lines up. But that's the only thing I'm playing Crown of Providence for. Scabsons is only for my Prison matchup, right? Or if I have no clue and I know I have to high roll, then might throw it in there. But I have not played this anytime during the ProQuest. My deck
That
itself,
which is good. It
it,
increased your win rate. Will,
it,
will.
it really did, dude. Like, it skyrocketed my skill level by just not rolling the scabs. It's everything you guys tell me and everything I know, but again, take the drugs away from me is all I'm saying. Um, I have tendencies, I can't help it. The deck itself is your basic KO deck. Like this deck has kind of been solved a long time ago, and it's really fine adjustments. He's got a lot of good things recently came out in Super Slam from the Buck Wilds. Massacre is one of those cards that it's a power card for you when you need it. You can play to it. But everything else, like the Savage Feast, Beast Within to the Beaten Trackers, is a combo card that you get off and keep on going long with it if you're lucky. Again, you got these big cards, a lot of ways to make agility or extend your turn out. Notice here I don't have pulping, right? That's one of those things I took into meta consideration. There's a lot of D-reacts now. There's a new card called Overcrowded, which shuts down pulping. You're relying on that go again. You cannot rely on pulping anymore. It is no longer a great card to say, oh, it's automatic go again. Because the card itself is you block with 2 cards, then you just lose the go again, and it has dominate. So it's very easy to get around. I have your basic go wide package from Wild Ride, both blue and red. I'm sorry, not blue and red, red and yellow. So that's a skin and go again. I really wanted to limit my misses. So you'll see my main board of 54, I have the Blood Rush Bellows, but not a lot of misses. And notice what I don't have in here, Jeremy. Terra Limber.
I support cutting that card. I hope that when you scroll down, it's not there.
Well, unfortunately, it is in sideboard because sometimes you absolutely need it. But your agile windups, your mighty windups, I only have them blue, and I got sent packing. Now I don't have command and conquers in here. I don't have the E strikes, and the reason why is because I never liked command and conquer in my brute decks. It's antithetical to Blood Rush Bellow, right? It doesn't get the +2. It's awkward to draw, and yet it does do a lot. But send packing, it automatically banishes his card. So if they have a D-React in Arsenal, they're getting rid of it, and they have to block out this too. So it does kind of the same thing at one more cost. Um, Vigorous Smash Up is a great card. I have it both in yellow and blue. The yellow's in my sideboard. Nothing says high value like block in out your turn and still swinging a. If you have 2 vigor smash ups, it's very common. You can swing a show of strength, swing big, or bare fangs for free, and make a might token for the next turn on the bare fangs. So pretty dang good value there. you know, and then of course I have 5 flex spots here. I'm playing around with these 5 spots. This is more for my Grave Bones pick. The flex speed, high pitch towel. It's all low cost things. So if I break the stash, they are 5, 6 attack go against. Generally generate might. They go long. Stronger Survive is my on hit disruption. That's great for Syndra matchups. The Vigor Smash Up is if you need it. So and Tear Limb from Limb because sometimes you need more blues, right? So it's either the Strong Survive, Tear Limb from Limb, but of course you don't want to pit non-blocks in against decks that have a lot of attacks. So that's when you kind of go Vigor Smash Up, Strong Survive, right? So that's kind of my game plan into it. Worked out really well. Again, these are the different spots that you can switch on. I'm still playing around with the Gravy Bones matchup, but that's one of those things that they say if you look at the data, it's a 40% matchup, 60% favor G Bones. Man, I sometimes feel like against a great Gravy Bones player, it's damn near 20 to 30%. It's hard to get a value on that. Now, against maybe a normal Gravy Bones player, sure, it's more like 40, 60, 50, 50. But it's a lot tougher than people think. So I'm hoping that if I race them down, it'll put enough pressure, and that's what these cards are figuring out. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I had a couple maybes here. Again, I took Pulpings out, Bare Fangs Yellows. These were not even considerations. I don't play Restless Swings. I know some people say that, but nowadays, it never really gets down to the 2 life, where I put them in that threat. So it's only happened once in probably the 20 games I've played. So just considerations. So some of these are against the Syndrome matchup. Some of these are against the Gravy Bones Verdance matchup because the Gravy Bones Verdance matchup is a race. You want to hit them harder than they want to hit you and faster than they can hit you. So that's my consideration and your basic breakdown. Yeah. Any questions about that, Jeremy?
Not really, but just to make the discussion a little bit more evergreen, right? You'll notice that Will was pointing out, hey, this card is for X deck,
Yeah.
and these cards for Y deck, right? And that's the kind of consideration because Will has said, I expect these meta decks to show
Hmm.
up, and I'm gonna have cards for them, or have a game plan for them, and therefore I'm prepared for my ProQuest.
Yeah. And I think that's like, and you get just look at the meta call. Like, and sometimes a hero's not going to show up. Why would you prep for it? I'm sorry, my boy Olympia, but Kasai might be a consideration. And I know for me, I don't have a lot of warrior tech against this because I figured if I fought a warrior, it's going to kind of be the same game plan I already do. I just got to do it better than them at that time. And so that's where play experience comes in. Kind of what you're saying, Jeremy. This is where familiarity and repetition really does win you that experience because sometimes warriors just forget how hard brutes hit, you know, or how fast Cecilia is. My God, I still have nightmares about your deck.
He closed the page before I could see the Tearlet from Lib. Good choice.
And here's the thing: there might be other considerations I'll do other than tear limb for limb. It does come in handy if they're blocking and you have to go tall. All right, so that's why it's really in there, but it's not in there for the flashy thing that Andrew is so cussing me out for. I felt his seething like the heat, right? He was like the shame that he was projecting online with his voice was just like I just heard that sigh. It's so I was like my heart. Yeah, so that's kind of the KO deck rundown in the Cilio. So kind of we went into this kind of with the same thing, right? We had a game plan against the matchups we thought we were going to face. We had our general stack of cards that kind of enhance our current game plan. So we know where our win conditions are. And you'd be surprised if you don't know your win condition or your outs to win that matchup, you're behind the eight ball in that way. So, that's where the testing comes in and the intentional practice of the Talishar games. Do you do any rituals for the same day? Like, let's say you get up, eat breakfast, head to the store. Do you do anything like that? Like anything like 10 push-ups or, take a cold shower, hot shower? Like, do you do any of these things? Wear the same socks you won your last tournament in? See
uh,
crazy?
not really. So I basically just rolled out of bed and made some coffee and rolled up to the ProQuest.
Yeah,
So I think that counts as my habit.
yeah. That's the thing for
A
me.
morning cup of coffee.
I don't play hungry and I don't play thirsty, and I do not like supporting the convention prices. So luckily we are at a game store, but game store will have game store foods. I like, I might be thick, but I like to tell people I got thick from eating, apples and nuts, and not from eating ding dongs and Snickers bars, right? So part of that is, I make sure I'm well fed, well hydrated, and I brought food, keep it on ice in my car. It was gimbap, so my mom made it the night before for my tournament. Yeah.
Nice.
Which is great because someone forgot their lunch. I was like, I'll share my gift pot with you, man. He's like, what is this? It's like it's like Korean sushi except with vegetables. It's good, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
if we're talking about habits, yeah, bring food to ProQuest.
yeah,
It's
dude.
it's needed.
Yeah, and I think playing hungry is probably the worst thing you could do to yourself, where you get the shakes or you can't concentrate because of your hunger cues. So, all right. Do you have any other key takeaways you want to give our listeners as we kind of wrap this up? I mean, I'm always surprised when we go a full hour on these things, but it's a lot of good information. So, any like key tips you want to give out?
Yeah, I think I still just want to emphasize that you should really, and I don't know how many people agree with me, but I really think that you should just be playing what you like because part of it is that if you play what you're enjoying, you'll naturally want to play more games, and through that, you'll discover things about the deck and learn and grow. Otherwise, if you're just a cold like I play meta, I want to win, right? You're not going to be as encouraged to practice,
Mm,
right? So the edge you possibly that you might gain from strictly following what you think is the meta hero is probably nullified by the fact that you're not as excited to play that hero,
yeah,
right?
that's more than
And we
fair.
just ended the section saying that, right, habit habit and ritual gives
Hmm.
you more space to focus on important game decisions, right? If you've built up the muscle memory from playing a hero, right, it'll leave your brain more open to making critical decisions in game, right?
Yeah.
So habit and ritual isn't necessarily outside game, right? Like Will bringing his food. It's also the habits in the game,
You're right.
right? That's really important. So I just firmly stand by play what you know, play what you love,
Yeah.
and like sure, yes, I know. It's like people be mad when I say bring your C tier hero and have fun with it, but I think that gives you the best chance of winning.
But to that point, Jeremy, I'm gonna back that up with the data. The guy that won Arachne, the old Arachne, or OG Arachne, I can't remember his name. The one that people are playing now because of this one dude that won the ProQuest with them. Solitary Confinement, maybe? I don't remember. So, anyways, that guy was playing Arachne for years, right? And he just happened to get cards that made his deck meta relevant at that time. But it's the same thing where even last year there was that Uzuri winner that won one of these major tournaments because it was the right meta pick at that time, but he had dedication to that hero. So yeah, I mean I agree with you. Play what you are comfortable with. Play what you like. I happen to like all the heroes, and I tried out a lot of heroes before going into this based off the meta picks from Dorinthia to Kasai to Florian, and they all just didn't fit right. Like, but I was like KO, because it does reward honing in your basic instincts. No, that's not right. Your bare instincts, right? Basic instincts more like a movie from the 90s, right? Let's not go there, right? But so yeah, I do think play what you're familiar with. It doesn't have to necessarily be a meta pick because there's these outliers that Kasai was not a meta pick until she started winning, and then people started paying attention to her. So yeah, I do
Hmm.
like that.
Yeah, and the reason I'm shipping an opinion like this is because there is a lot of content out there, right?
Hmm.
Breaking down the meta, breaking down the picks, breaking down the decks, right? And if you want the strict competitive deck to bring, right, that's out there. You can find
Hmm.
it. I'm telling you to. Oh, I lost my way.
You tell us, the Jeremy.
I'm telling you to enjoy the game,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because if you set your heart out on I'm playing this deck and I want to win the pro quest,
Hmm.
and then you don't win, right? Then you feel bad,
Hmm.
right? But if you roll up to your pro quest with the intention of enjoying the game of Flesh and Blood, you can't lose, right?
Yeah.
That's my point.
Uh,
So,
and I know, if you happen to like Paul loves Board State Heroes, much like you, he was on Gravy Bones, and he's been dedicated to Gravy Bones even before people were like, "Oh, best deck in format." He stuck with Gravy Bones after the Tipple bans when people were like, "Oh, Gravy Bones sucks now." For that very brief window of time when that happened, right? So it's one of those things that, again, you just might happen to like the hero that is a meta pick, and that's fine. All right, or you might like a hero. I think Betsy won something recently, so my God. All right, if Betsy the thick girl could win, anyone could win, right? Reinar won. All
mhm.
right, Reinar made top 8 in a major tournament before. I mean, that's great, right? So yeah, I play. I agree with you. I think that's the best advice. But if they were trying to practice for the major tournament coming up and they weren't sure on their deck, they're looking for a new hero to play, and they said, why not pick a meta hero? How many weeks in advance should you start playing that hero to get at least a little familiar if you had dedicated practice? Do you think 3 days before the tournament's enough? Do you think 1 week, 2 weeks? Do you think a month? Like, what's the timeline here if all these things line up?
It varies from hero to hero,
Yep.
to be fair. But I will say you should be locked in like a week or two before,
Hmm.
unless you're just a prodigy. But there is just this is a deep, rich game, right?
Yeah.
So if you're waffling a lot, it doesn't do you much good.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, yeah, I agree. I think 2 weeks is probably a good number. No later than a week, or just go back to what you're familiar, like what you were saying, being familiar with. All
mhm.
right. So, Jeremy, as we wrap this up, do you want to share your socials, where they can find you at? Any other things you want to shout out there?
You can find me on Blue Sky, JChen Fab, but I also delete all my social medias. I don't know
Uh,
how. The best way to find me is just to be on one of the Georgia Flesh and Blood Discords. I'm
mm,
always talking and interacting with folks there. I love the community. So
yeah.
just look for somebody named Jeremy on the Georgia Fab Discords, and that's your best bet.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it says Georgia Fab, but anyone's welcome to join, guys. I mean, we are a tight knit community. Yeah, so with that, share your guys' own ProQuest stories. If you agree with Jeremy's love of the character, sees it through, or if you think top meta decks will always win these things. So I think share that down below in your comments if you want. You can find me on Discord as midnight underscore WI11. I actually had to change my YouTube, not my Facebook name to mid WI, because I shared something from work and I didn't want people from work following my personal Facebook account. So I was like, change that a little bit. So it's abbreviation for Midnight Will. Anyways, always keep in mind every turn is a decision, every decision is a story, and don't forget your damn Tunic Counter. Peace.
Will, I already know there's gonna be a comment of someone like, "Oh, I brought Olympia to my ProQuest
Shit.
because Jeremy said so," and they're gonna lose, and now it's my fault.
I hope not. I'm keeping this one in though. If you bring your Olympia to your ProQuest, you have my support. All right. I'm actually gathering up all the Exodia pieces now. I'm only missing the boots, right? Because I swear, why would they devote full art marvels so beautiful to a hero if they're not going to give him a decent weapon and a damn good playstyle? And man, I cannot wait. I am ready for him. They just need to give him a weapon. I don't care what it is. Anyways. All right, that's it, guys. Peace.